Okay, welcome back. This lecture is the third lecture I'm recording this spring semester, 2020. This lecture is titled Process, Concept, and Product. Um, and it's basically a review of a number of artists and how the idea of concept and really focusing on concept, focusing on process, and focusing on product, how in each of these different artists' bodies of work, that we can really see those three ideas develop. So previously, we had the process lecture. Once again, I apologize. That one was quite long. It was like 6 parts. And then just now, I just recorded the process and concept for design and designers lecture. And so now on to the process, concept, and product lecture, which is all about different contemporary artists. We're going to start with Rachel Whiteread. And so what's going to come up in each of these is I'm just going to tell you I really love this artist because each of these artists I pick, I pretty much every one of them I really love and admire. And but the other thing I want you to think about in each one of them, and I'm probably going to go into it a little bit more in depth with Rachel Whiteread than any other, is how in each of their bodies of work you can really kind of see that this interplay between concept, like in Rachel Whiteread's work, this fundamental concept idea that she's thinking about. The fundamental root of sculpture is the exploration of positive and negative volume. And then she asked herself that kind of very basic fundamental question: what if I made the negative volume the actual physical thing? And so each of these are works of sculpture that are the negative volumes of familiar things. And then that's another concept that's very much a part of her work, taking the making the familiar unfamiliar and the unfamiliar vaguely familiar, right? And the transformation of things. And we'll see that through her work. So concept, there's this starting fundamental series of ideas that all through her body work, they keep reiterating this dialogue between these different kind of thematic and conceptual ideas of hers. And that she's been developing these ideas through her whole body of work. But also her work is very much about process. It's about how, and for her, casting is this constant underscore of casting things, finding things and casting the negative spaces of things, making casts of stuff and of spaces. Is this ongoing exploration, and also this love of materials, this constant exploration of different types of concrete and plasters and resins, always trying different sort of materials and playing with different materials. So process and concept. And then finally, product. And mainly I just want to emphasize that like her work is amazing in part because it's so much about this process that she has, and her work is amazing because of these really interesting ideas that she has. But fundamentally, her work is amazing because she gets the product to be exactly what she wants. Right? It's exactly right. There's the craft of them is exacting. It's not necessarily pretty. Um, she's often interested in leaving, the seams of things so that you can see exactly how they were made. But it's very conscious and purposeful, and it's an exact product that she's achieving. Um, this piece here on the left, for those who don't remember, is an entire negative space cast of the inside of a brownstone, and so it's called House. And then I love this one at the top right where it's the negative space of the inside of made out of this kind of like resin that looks like it's gelatinous, but it's not. It's harder than that. But it's the inside of a gallery bench. So in the spot where a gallery bench would be in the gallery is instead a sculpture of the negative space of the gallery bench. Here's a piece she did in a UPS warehouse where it's all the negative spaces of all the boxes. I actually think the box piece is one of my least favorites, but I love this library piece. And the library piece is a great example of transformation, taking something that's a negative space of an indoor space, then putting it on the outside, taking something that would have been all about leather-bound books and paper and hardwood and polished wood surface, and then turning it into concrete, taking something that would have been these positive things and then making the negative space the positive. All of that is flipped and transformed. Um, and so you're in a library, but you're on the outside of the library. Here's another artist who I greatly admire, a photographer, who also, his work is very much about, there's this core fundamental kind of series of ideas that he's obsessed with. So this fundamental kind of starting concept. For Gursky, that fundamental starting concept is asking that question, how big and overwhelming can a photograph get? How can I design an image to have so much information in it that it's too hard to see, that it's overwhelming? And then and just asking, what does that mean? What does it mean when we can't see something because everything is too rich, too much information? And then there's the process of it, him traveling all over the world, doing everything he can to find these most extreme kind of examples of images that he's looking for, all the way down to getting invited to go to North Korea to photograph athletic games in North Korea. So the image on the right, I think, is from Brazil football or soccer game. The image from the left is from Bahrain. It's a Grand Prix track. One of the things I love about this photograph, the one on the left, is how abstract it is. It's a photograph, and yet it looks completely unreal. Um, Here's some more examples. The way he makes these is he photographs them in pieces, right? And then so that he can, he can photograph like section by section. He photographs the whole, but then he's section by section, and he photographs them so that every moment is a fully rich image, like as big digitally as you could possibly get with a large format digital camera. And then he then, in a massive computer that can hold this images this size, he then laces them together, pieces them together to make this supersized image that then is, wall size when it's presented in a gallery. Oftentimes his pieces are also backlit, like they're mounted on glass with lighting beneath them so that they, are extra rich in information. The one on the left, I think, is from a Madonna concert in Brazil, and the one on the right is from a recycling not factory, but like a place that, like outside of a dump where they recycle materials in India, I think. Here's some where he's, shooting from high altitude planes. Um, this image is one of my favorites of his. This is from a neutrino collector in Japan, and there's a pool of water in the bottom of it. And all right, here's another one of his. Okay, so as we go through some of these artists, I'll go faster. So Rebecca Warren is a sculptor. She works entirely in ceramics, but she works entirely in unfired ceramics. She doesn't fire any of her pieces. And once again, I want you to just kind of think about, like, I'm going to reiterate it, like how for each of these contemporary artists, it's about what makes them interesting is not any one thing, right? It's the concept, or this usually a series of concepts that interest them. For Rebecca Warren, one of the things is like this obsession with sexuality and grotesqueness simultaneously. And then also this obsession with process and materials, right? And how they develop their work, but also an obsession with product, or with when they hit upon what they want a particular body of work to look like, getting it exactly the way they want it to look like. Toma Apps is another British artist, actually, um, and she's a painter. And once again, I love her work. I think it's really stunning. She won the Turner Prize, I can't remember, somewhere around 2005 or so. Thomas Demand is a photographer, and these really, really clean, quiet photographs are all photographs of miniatures made entirely by paper. So like on this page, this Oval Office piece right here, all of that is handmade by him in paper. The escalator is made by him in paper. Um, to have that's an early piece right there. I wish I had the diving board piece. I should have included that. But this one kind of gives it away a little bit with all the paper. It's a little bit of an in-joke piece for him. You can actually see it on this one, especially like on the scissors. You can really see how, oh yeah, this